Okay.
All right, when I click something and I'm looking at, I can't see anyone.
I see you, Mike.
We can see you. You probably have a small picture of yourself on the far right, but if you go upper right, if not, if you go to the bottom where your icons are on the bottom, you click on the Zoom icon, you should come back.
There you go.
We're good? Okay.
No?
Dr. Siegel, we are.
We are streaming.
Okay. Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
The republic for which it stands,
one
the
nation under
nation,
God,
under God,
justice for liberty and justice for all.
There's a public comments, item 2. I've not received any
Yes, we have received 16.
on these non-agenda items. The ones
That's
we
correct.
received will be 7.
We'll be on 7H. Those comments all refer to item 7H.
Right. Continue to number. Item 3, approval of agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
A second.
Motion by trustee Perez, second by trustee White. Marilyn, would you poll the board, please?
Aye.
Virginia Moore.
Aye.
Mike Welsh.
Aye.
Brian Laporte.
Aye.
Fay Lane.
Aye.
Lourdes Perez.
Aye.
Sally White.
Aye.
Betty Davis.
Aye. Approved as presented. Item 4, recognition of retirees. Dr. Biss?
All right, so we're very excited this evening to recognize our retirees, and we'll be having a slideshow presentation for that. All of our retirees, I don't know if you can see this. This is the kind of plaque that with the picture that you will be getting. We'll deliver to these to you as soon as possible. This is Dr. Siegel's. I figured I'd show this for all of you to see. But we are excited to honor you this evening.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Are you ready?
Am I on?
You're on. We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, congratulations again to the retirees. This is a moment you've worked your entire career for, and we're just really honored to recognize you tonight. And I know that the board members are just very excited to be able to see you, even though it's virtually. Please, when you see your slide coming up, make some noise so that they can see you and congratulate each and every one of you. Just something that I read earlier tonight as we were getting ready for this, and that was that weekends for you will now be 7 days a week. So that's pretty cool. Okay. So we are going to begin with our very first retiree tonight is Ginger Geiger. Ginger, are you in the house?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Ginger.
Yay, Ginger.
Yay, Ginger. So Ginger has been our district librarian, our 712 librarian for 5 years. And a quote that she shared with us earlier is, "There's no way to happiness. Happiness is the way." And that's by Buddha. Thank you, Ginger. Congratulations.
Thank you. And thanks to the board for your support of libraries. It is a wonderful place to work within Ceres Unified.
Congratulations.
Okay, next we have Pete Barrera. Pete,
Ooh, thank- Hello.
Hello, this is.
there you are. Congratulations.
Thank
He's a campus supervisor, 7 years of district service, and his quote, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you," from Matthew 7, verse 12.
Okay, Suzanne Lynch.
Susie, yay, Susie.
Suzanne, are you with us? Okay, Suzanne has been an instructional paraprofessional too for us for 12 years. She has served at Ceres High School, and her quote is, "In the stigma, a school club from NAMI Mantra, a school club that she started. So congratulations and thank you, Suzanne.
Next, we have Diane Bavaro. Diane, are you there?
Yeah.
Oh. Diane's a speech and language pathologist for 14 years. And her quote, "Whoever is happy will make others happy too." That was by Anne Frank. Congratulations.
Oh, Maria.
Maria Pineda Munoz. Maria.
Yay!
Okay, Maria has been a teacher for us at Caswell Elementary School for 16 years. And her quote, lo que bien se aprende, jamás se olvida. The English translation is, what's well learned is never forgotten. So, muchas gracias, Maria.
Gracias.
Joanne Vega. Joanne, are you there?
Yeah.
All right. Congratulations. Joanne's a transitional kindergarten teacher, 24 years of district service, and her quote, "Learning should be fun." Congratulations.
Catherine Westine. Catherine, are you there? So Catherine has been a first grade teacher for us at Walter White Elementary School. She has served the district for 25 years. Her quote is, "A friend is someone who knows all about you and still loves you." Thank you, Catherine.
Next, we have Linda Colosito. Linda, are you there?
Yahoo, I'm here.
All right. Hi, Linda. Linda currently serves as an intervention teacher. Patricia K. Beaver. She has 30 years of district service. And her quote, "The thrills, the joy, the passion, the turmoil, and the stunning surprises of the roller coaster ride we call teaching. I loved it all and wouldn't have changed a thing." Congratulations, Linda.
Thank you.
Suzanne Garcia.
Hello.
Suzanne, hi. Suzanne has
Hi.
been at Ceres High School as a physical education teacher for us for 30. She has served the district for 31 years. Congratulations, Suzanne. Her quote, "Be joyful always, pray continuously, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Jesus Christ." Thank you, Suzanne, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Next, we have Lorenda Pereira.
Yes.
Leandra, are you there? All right. Leandra currently serves as the staff secretary at Ceres High School, and Leandra has 33 years of district service. And her quote, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." Matthew 7, verse 12. Congratulations, Leandra.
Thank you.
Brenda Brown.
Hello.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi.
Brenda has also served the district for 33 years. She's been a teacher for us at Westport Elementary School. Her quote, "Anyone who does anything to help a child in his life is a hero to me." Fred Rogers. Congratulations, Brenda.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Brenda.
Next, we have Chris Browning. Chris? I know you're there.
I saw Chris.
Chris is was a lead payroll accountant for fiscal services. And Chris.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out how to unmute.
There you are. Congratulations. Yes. 35 years of district service. And her quote, "Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened." By Dr. Seuss. Congratulations, Chris.
Congratulations.
Next, we have Patricia Pacheco. Patricia, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. 38 years of district service at Argus and Endeavor. And her quote, live as if you were to die, live as if you were to die tomorrow, learn as if you were to live forever. And that's by Gandhi. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, and last but not least, Anna is our boss. And so I also read this earlier today, and that's, just Dr. Siegel, enjoy this new chapter in your life. And you've been our boss and worked in the district for 31 years. And now it's time that you can be your own boss. And I know you're looking forward to your time, and you have certainly served the district well, and you leave behind a huge legacy, and we will do our best to keep things moving along. So congratulations to Dr. Siegel. He has served for 31 years, as I mentioned earlier, and his quote, I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. By Robert Frost. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay, congratulations to all of our retirees tonight. And there are a couple of slides here of retirees that were not able to be with us this evening, and we wanted certainly to recognize them. I think there's another slide as well. So there's a couple there, and we will be delivering your frames to you as soon as they come in. And then if you're not in the district right now, then we will be mailing them to your home. So a final congratulations, and I'm sure that Mrs. Davis would say some final words as well on behalf of the board for your retirement.
Yep.
These people have met the ABCs of life. They've aimed high, they've thought big, and they knew that every student could improve. They believed in the student even when he didn't believe in him herself. They care enough to correct, to encourage, to challenge. And for now, that's what we want for them. The ABCs of retirement, which goes all the way for Z, is very good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item B, recognitions of teachers earning series certification of direct instruction.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Well, congratulations to all the retirees. Those of us left behind are very jealous and look forward to that time in our lives, but we know you've got exciting things ahead of you. It is my pleasure to recognize another group of educators this evening, and that is for those who have gone through the series certification of direct instruction process this year. I have several of you to recognize tonight. And I also want to thank we have several instructional coaches and administrators on the call to celebrate you too. So thank you for joining us. And I'll be reading your names. And then we have a certificate that we'll be delivering to your school site in recognition of your hard work and accomplishment. So especially during this very difficult time, to go through this is quite an accomplishment. So first, I would like to recognize Daisy Torres Perez from Carol Fowler Elementary School, who is receiving her certification in direct instruction. Congratulations, Daisy.
Thank you, everyone.
Daisy, so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy. And second, we have actually the next two individuals are receiving their certification of direct instruction recertification. So they've already done this at least one time, and this certifies that they've gone back through the process and continued to work with a coach to maintain that certification. And the first one is from Ceres High School, and that's Owen Brown. Congratulations, Owen. Thank you. And then our second teacher is from Argus High School, and that's Justin Unruh. Congratulations, Justin. Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. We do have one individual who was not able to make it, and she is receiving her recertification and coach certification, and that's Sarah Nelson. So congratulations to Sarah as well. Congratulations and thank you all for serving the students of Ceres Unified.
Thank you. Item C, recognition of student representatives to CUSD Board of Trustees. Virginia Moore, Central Valley High School, and Victoria Rodriguez Ochoa from Ceres High School.
So I have a couple of plaques here for our student board reps. I have a couple things on the stand. I can go to the mic here if I give this to them because I want to make sure everyone can hear.
I found something that describes each of these girls. Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as ever you can. These two do that.
Thank you.
You both have been fantastic student board reps, top notch. And I'm going to leave you with this thought that occurred to me, that I think that years from now, when people in the district look back at what student board reps do and how they engage, they'll think back to you two and saw that there was a change at that point in time when you came on, and that you kind of redefined the role of a student board rep with the level that you rose when you did the presentation to the board, your involvement, everything. So I just want to thank you. The best retirement gift was having you two on the board. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was an honor.
Item 5, consent agenda. Does anyone have any item to pull? If not, I will call for a motion.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Motion by trustee Welch, second by trustee Delaporte. Bella, will you poll the board, please?
Victoria Rodriguez Ochoa,
Aye.
Virginia Moore,
Aye.
Mike Welsh,
Aye.
Brian De La Porte,
Aye.
Fay Lane,
Aye.
Lourdes Perez,
Aye.
Sally White,
Aye.
Betty Davis.
Aye. Passed as presented. We'll continue to action section. Item A, consider an employment agreement between CUSD and the Director of Multi-Tiered System of Supports.
Yes, good evening, Board of Trustees. Tonight, I am proposing and presenting the contract for the Director of MTSS position. Sharon Carter is with us also. So Sharon, do you want to give a wave? There she is. The terms of her contract need to be read aloud in open session as per Education Code 54953. And here are the terms of her contract. The term will be July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2023. The base salary will be range 6, step 5 of the certificated management salary schedule on the district's website to advance a step per year. If she has a doctorate degree, it would be a stipend of $900. A master's degree would be a stipend of $1,000. There will be an $850 allocation for health and welfare benefits, which is equal to the amount that is provided to all other employees. There is $7.50 a month towards a $100,000 term life policy, which is an amount that is equal to all other management employees. There is an expense stipend of $50 per month. There is an auto stipend of $200 per month. And her work year calendar is 222 days per year. So I am asking for board approval for her director contract this evening.
I would like to make a motion to approve the employment agreement as presented. Was it you?
Motion by trustee Perez, second by trustee Lane. Marilyn, poll the board, please.
Victoria Rodriguez Ochoa,
Aye.
Virginia Moore,
Aye.
Mike Welsh,
Aye.
Brian De La Porte,
Aye.
Fay Lane,
Aye.
Lourdes Perez,
Aye.
Sally White,
Aye.
Betty Davis.
Aye. Passed as presented.
Thank you. Congratulations, Sharon.
Item B, declaration of need for fully qualified educators.
All right, good evening. So The Commission on Teaching Credentials requests this declaration. It's just a needs report. So the purpose is we give them an estimate and notify CTC on how many teachers we may need to hire on an emergency teaching permit.
Any questions or comments for David on this? Not, I'll call for a motion.
I move to approve the declaration of need for fully qualified educators.
Motion by trustee White, second by trustee Lane. Miller, will you poll the board, please?
Victoria Rodriguez Ochoa,
Aye.
Virginia Moore,
Aye.
Mike Welsh, Brian De La Porte,
Aye.
Fay Lane, Lourdes Perez,
Aye.
Sally White,
Aye.
Betty Davis.
Aye. Passed as presented. Item C, Ingenuity Curriculum Adoption.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. So for a while now, we have been in contract with a company called Edgenuity to provide online instruction for students in credit recovery, or actually it's the curriculum that Endeavor High School uses as well. In accordance with this, we at times need to ensure that students have access to some printed instructional materials that are called for by the company Edgenuity. So we're asking you tonight to approve the use of that coursework and materials that are aligned with the online independent study courses. Might be slightly different from other adopted materials.
Any questions or comments on this item? Not, I call for a motion.
I motion to approve the use of Ingenuity coursework and materials as instructional materials to be utilized in online independent study courses.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. The motion's been made and seconded. Miller, will you call for the vote, please?
Victoria Rodriguez Ochoa,
Aye.
Virginia Moore,
Aye.
Mike Welsh,
Aye.
Brian De La Porte,
Aye.
Fay Lane,
Aye.
Lourdes Perez,
Aye.
Sally White,
Aye.
Betty Davis.
Aye. Passed as
Thank you.
presented. Item D, Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant Plans for Whitmore Charter Schools.
Thank you very much. Whitmore Charter Schools needed to develop and have their own ELO plans approved, which then we'll send on to the county. So we are recommending that you approve those plans this evening.
Any questions or comments on this item? I call for motion.
Make a motion to approve the expanded learning opportunity grant plans for Whitmore Charter High School and Whitmore Charter School of Arts and Technology. I'll second.
Motion by trustee Perez, second by trustee White. Ellen, hold the word, please.
Victoria Rodriguez Ochoa,
Aye.
Virginia Moore,
Aye.
Mike Welsh,
Aye.
Brian De La Porte,
Aye.
Fay Lane,
Aye.
Lourdes Perez,
Aye.
Sally White,
Aye.
Betty Davis.
Aye.
We got consent on them.
Okay, item F, I'm sorry, item E, proposed revision to certificated salary schedule.
Yes, we're recommending a very minor change to the salary schedule. Yes, please.
Need a motion.
I think that's what.
Okay,
So the motion was made by you
Motion
and
by
seconded
Perez,
by White.
Seconded by trustee White.
For the,
Approve the agenda.
okay,
If you just pull the board real quick, they won't.
okay, stepped one step. I left one step, skipped one step. Back on item approval of the agenda. That's where I'm going.
Yes, we have a first and second. Just
Okay, it's 3A. Miller, will you pull the board, please?
yes. Victoria Rodriguez Ochoa,
Aye.
Virginia Moore,
Aye.
Mike Welsh,
Aye.
Brian De La Porte.
Aye.
Fay Lane.
Aye.
Lourdes Perez.
Aye.
Sally White.
Aye.
Betty Davis.
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, then we could go back to F or E. E, okay.
Thank you. So what we're recommending tonight, a very minor change to the salary schedule. It's related to how longevity is calculated.
Any questions or comments on this item? Motion?
I move to approve the change to the certificated salary schedule for 2021, 2022.
Motion by trustee Delaporte, seconded by trustee Lane. Marilyn, please poll the board.
Victoria Rodriguez Ochoa.
Aye.
Virginia Moore. Aye. Mike Welch.
Mike, say aye.
Aye.
Brian De La Porte.
Aye.
Fay Lane.
Aye.
Lourdes Perez.
Aye.
Sally White. Betty Davis.
Aye. Pass as presented. Item F, State Preschool Program Director Authorization.
This is an annual item that the state requires for us to assign the director for the state preschool program so that she can sign on behalf of Series Unified.
Make a motion to adopt as presented the attached board resolution number 24-2021 for Mary Gonzalez to enter into licensing transactions for CUSD.
Second.
Motion made by trustee Perez, seconded by trustee Delaporte. Marilyn, poll the board, please.
Victoria Rodriguez Ochoa.
Aye.
Virginia Moore. Aye. Mike Welch.
Aye.
Brian De La Porte.
Aye.
Fay Lane.
Aye.
Lourdes Perez.
Aye.
Sally White.
Aye.
Betty Davis.
Aye. Pass as presented. Item G, board members remuneration effective July 1, 2021. Dr. Siegel?
Sure, thank you. There's a couple of pieces here with this item. So I make them all very clear. The first is that the board compensation is set by Ed Code at $400 per month as a base due to the size of the school district. Then the Ed Code allows for up to a 5% per year inflation adjustment at the board's discretion. Now, that change to 400 was made from, best as we can remember, $250 a month back in early 2005. So we believe that. So about 16 years ago, and has not been changed from $400 a month since then. And given inflation, that $400 a month has basically whittled down in value to about half of its original value. We also have a separate situation where, in order to ensure that all board members have access to high-speed internet, the district reimburses board members for that. Now, when we started doing that about 16 or 17 or 18 years ago, the cost and availability of high-speed internet was such that people didn't usually have that. People were still using dial-up modems back then to some degree, or to a great degree, and slower internet speeds that weren't adequate to download large PDFs that the board has to do. So what I'm proposing here is that the board do two things, really one, but take care of two problems with it, is that you approve a 5% stipend increase to $420 a month. But I don't think that is sufficient. I think you'll need to do that again several more times. I would think that you could go all the way to 500 very easily justified, given that it's been 16 years since the increase was done. It will take some years to do that because you go about $20 a year. When you get to 450, which is about the most that anybody gets reimbursed, then I would recommend that you cancel the reimbursements and just have board members supply out of their stipend the cost of their internet. So that doesn't mean I would stop at 450. My recommendation to you, whatever it's worth, future years, is that you take that reimbursement level all the way up, or that reimbursement, that stipend level all the way up to 500. Like I said, it will take years to get there. So tonight, all I'm asking is for you to approve an increase of $20 a month to 420 to make up for years and years and years of not doing it.
Any comments or questions on this item? If not, I call for a motion.
I move to increase the board monthly compensation amount from $400 to $420.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion has been moved by trustee Davenport, seconded. Marilyn, would you call for the board vote, please?
Victoria Rodriguez Ochoa,
Aye.
Virginia Moore,
Aye.
Mike Welsh,
He said aye.
He said aye.
He did.
Brian De La Porte,
Aye.
Fay Lane,
Aye.
Lourdes Perez,
Aye.
Sally White,
Aye.
Betty Davis.
Aye. Passed as a presented. Item H, board policy, March 2021 policy revisions. Dr. Siegel.
I don't have much to say. I think you know the drill with these.
Make a motion to approve March 2021 board policy revisions. I'll second.
Motion by trustee Perez, seconded by trustee White. Marilyn, pull the board, please.
Victoria Rodriguez Ochoa,
Aye.
Virginia Moore, Mike Welsh,
Aye.
Brian De La Porte,
Aye.
Fay Lane,
Aye.
Lourdes Perez,
Aye.
Sally White,
Aye.
Betty Davis.
Aye. Passed as presented. Thank you, those who brought the action items to us today. Going on to 7, information and study, superintendent's report.
Thank you. So a couple of things. First of all, I want to acknowledge that trustee Molina intended to be here tonight, and I wish him safe travels. His flight home from Guatemala got canceled. And so he was stuck there last I heard. We're looking forward to his safe return to the United States. Congratulations to all the retirees, and thank you to the board for the recognition of retirees. For one thing that I want you to start thinking about, we'll be contacting each of you about is CSBA for next year. So CSBA hotel reservations have been made. They're cancelable, so that would be easy enough to do if someone's not going. And what we need to find out is if you want to be registered for the conference and keep the reservation for the hotel. It is December 2nd through 4th. The delegate assembly is on December 1st. So that would be a day earlier. And I believe it's in San Diego. I know it's in San Diego this year. And we're planning, the hotel reservations are at the Omni after a lot of talking to Dr. Wickham about which was the best place to go. We realized that was probably based on price. It was reasonable. The place where the conference is being headquartered is not reasonable. So that's what we did. Any questions about CSBA?
You did mean this year, right?
I'm thinking next school year.
Okay.
Yeah, this calendar year, next school year, yes. Yes. December of 2021. Yeah, December 2nd through 4th. And then finally, just to let you know, next meeting, Dr. Wickham will be on the dais for next meeting and the meeting after for the 2 meetings in June. I will be seated in the room and just kind of watching, going to get her used to being in this location. And she'll run the board president runs the meeting, but she'll take on the role that I usually take on, and I'll be able to give her any feedback that she needs. So I know she's looking forward to that, and I am looking forward to migrating off of the dais. And that is all I have. Thank you. Oh, I do have one more thing. I apologize. I know that everybody joins me in condolences and sympathies to the Levinsky family.
On to board report. Ceres High School, first please.
Good evening, board. So as this is my last board meeting, sadly, I do have quite a few things to talk to you all about. So starting off with college workshops, our college transition learning director, Ms. Salinas, has hosted many next steps workshops for all students going to MJC, CSUs, UCs. There's a lot of requirements you still have to fulfill, like after you commit to that college. So she's helping all those students with financial aid stuff, to-do list items, and so she hosts in-person workshops at school. This month we had a senior mayhem, which we had never done before. It was a first time thing and we wanted to see how it went. So every single week of May, we had a different activity celebrating seniors. So we had sports and club recognitions for all seniors. Next week, we have a Spirit Week, which we're all excited about, like the first in-person Spirit Week we've had. So we've had a success, and it is an event we hope to continue on in future years. We just want to celebrate seniors as the year is coming to an end. So I know a lot of them have truly enjoyed this month. We also have a senior send-off the last week of school, June 2nd, and I would like to thank Ceres High School and CUSD for sponsoring our event. So basically, it's an event for seniors only. There will be a lot of food, there will be a DJ, a photo booth. It is outside, so we'll all be wearing masks, socially distanced in the football field. So there's plenty of room for everyone. Students will have to bring their IDs to make sure they are CHS students, and we'll be taking all the precautions with stationary, sanitary stations all around so kids feel safe. We also are having a leadership banquet, which at the beginning we thought we wouldn't be able to have, and we were really upset about it. We did bring the idea up to our principal and activities director, and they approved it. So it will be outside. Kids will be wearing masks, of course, social distancing. And we're just excited to recognize leadership for all the hard work they put this year. I know through distance learning was kind of hard to do our usual events and stuff, but we still pushed through and we were able to create activities and events virtually that were still fun and interactive for students to still feel like they were a part of our campus as if we were in person. Finals is coming up pretty quick, and so we have a set schedule, and it is, of course, the last week of school, and finals will, again, like last semester, be optional. So teachers are not required to give students a final, which I know a lot of my teachers, especially for seniors, they're like, well, you guys are kind of done with the school year, and because it's been difficult, they're being a little lenient with us, which we truly appreciate. I know by this time we all have a major case of senioritis. We're very, very drained, especially this year. Yes. I know we're all sad to be leaving, and we only got a little bit of time on campus, but we will still cherish all our years at Ceres High. And some exciting news that we were given today is that each graduate is now receiving 4 tickets for graduation instead of 2, which I know, like, when it came out, it was like during 5th period, and then like passing periods, all you could hear is like, oh my God, did you hear we get 4 graduation tickets now? And everyone is so excited about it. I know I am, because I get to bring more people, and a lot of my classmates are also excited because they didn't want to leave out some family members, and now they're able to come. And so that is all I have for you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and I would like to say congrats, Victoria. It's our last board meeting. I would like to start off by going through a list of events that we are planning on hosting as leadership for our campus. So we just have a few like final spirit days that we're planning on hosting this Friday and then the next week coming up. So starting off tomorrow, we have a senior day, which is just going to be like banners and posters around school. We also are giving out pizza and ice cream, I believe, at lunch. So if any seniors want to get a special lunch for tomorrow, they're able to do so. We also have coming up on Saturday is our senior sunset dinner. We are having just dinner in the quad of our school with the DJ and maybe some other live entertainment being put on for the class of 2021. So it's supposed to be a school sponsored event. So of course there's going to be social distancing and all that good stuff. Also next week we have a kindness week, which is like a 3-day event where we just decorate our school in the color yellow to spread the message of kindness and to be positive to one another and to lead a life that is filled with kindness as well. Also coming up that Friday, we have a Pride Day to celebrate our LGBTQ plus students on campus as well as staff members. Since Pride Day is coming, or Pride Month is in June, so we want to acknowledge and celebrate that as well. And I would like to say my deepest condolences for the Levinsky family. I had Mr. Levinsky as my 8th grade PD teacher, and he's an amazing man, and I'm very sorry for that. And I wish you guys all the best. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Any board members have any reports they want to give at this time?
I just want to make a comment real quick to Victoria and Virginia, and I'm sure the board would agree that you two are, the best representatives of our district, and you are why we are sitting on the board today and involved in education is because of two students like yourselves. And I just want to say congratulations because on your acceptance to UC Davis for the both of you, that's very impressive. And I'm sure we're going to all miss you guys next year, and we wish you guys the best of luck. So thank you for being a part of our board.
Thank you.
Very well.
I need to agree with Brian. I think you girls set the bar very high. Best 2 student reps we've ever had.
Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
Mr. Welsh has been on the board a lot longer than I have, that's for sure. So that should mean something to you too as well.
Thank you.
Item C, association report. CSEA, first to report tonight.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Antonio Saldaña. I go by Tony as well. I'm pretty familiar with Ceres and district. I actually attended Ceres High with Dr. Scott Siegel when he was young. Very.
He was my lip sync instructor for dancing, and I was a hard student to have.
Tried every shoe possible and it didn't work. So,
Nothing worked.
so he was very. He was a team player. He was pretty good actually. But yeah, I've been with the district here for about a little over 5 years. It's my second stint here. I always seem to come back. I was a student here since 6th grade. I attended Caswell, Hensley, and then Ceres High. It's been definitely holds a special place in my heart. Community is really great and it's grown. Really happy to be back. But I'm also announcing I'm vice president of a CSEA union, chapter 140 here at Ceres. So very honored to be a representative of theirs and the classified employees. I'm currently a custodian for Atkinson Elementary. Again, another great example of this particular district, so I'm very honored. But just wanted to come up and actually thank all the, well, first and foremost, congratulate Dr. Shasil. That's a lot of hard work and it's paid off. Congratulations, you're still doing it while you're young. So good example for everybody else. And again, congratulations to all the retirees that are fortunately, but unfortunately leaving our district. Congratulations to them on their next journey. So nothing but positive vibes toward them. And wanted to come up here and actually say congratulations. We're celebrating Classified Employee Appreciation Week this particular week. Wanted to thank all the hardworking classified members of our district. I know firsthand, being one of them, all the hard work and effort they put forth every single day. I know during this pandemic, it's been a nightmare, a headache, and I wanted to thank them all for just enduring. It shows a great example, and I think it's with every low, there comes a high. Unfortunately, right now we're experiencing that low, but we just got to remember that that high is coming right around the corner. Congratulations to all the classified employees, and it's an honor to be in front of the Board of Trustees for the first time, and hopefully it's not the last. So thank you again for this particular time and this honor. Appreciate it.
Thank you. CSEA, Jody?
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to start by congratulating the retirees as well. It's definitely exciting to see that people have worked hard and are now going to enjoy the next chapter of their lives. I'd also like to reiterate what many of you have said about the 2 junior board reps. This is my 5th year being CUTA president and coming to these meetings, and we have never had 2 junior reps even close to what these ladies have done. I've been so impressed with the fact that they're not quiet and they don't just go with the flow, but they have ideas. They're comfortable speaking their mind. They've made changes in this year. And I am just extremely impressed. I have no doubt that both of you will go on to do amazing things. I also would like to say that this has definitely probably been the hardest year that I've ever had to do this job or teach as well. And I would like to say that I know, even though there's been many disagreements with, or I shouldn't say disagreements, but opinions that people feel on things throughout COVID and throughout this year, I really respect the fact that in general, our district has put whatever the guidelines from the state and the county first. And after looking at some of the letters to the board tonight about masks, I definitely think we're doing the right thing. I think that following the guidelines, regardless of our own personal biases or opinions, I think is what we need to be doing until that changes. And so I just want to say that I definitely appreciate that. And so do our members in feeling safe. And also, I appreciate the fact, and so does Ken, that we were part of, again, today, the budget meeting with the district. The transparency when it comes to funding is huge, and we appreciate it, even though I really have no idea most of the time what they're talking about. And I've learned numerous things that I probably will never use ever again, but it is very interesting, and we definitely appreciate being part of that. And so just wanted to make sure to reiterate that. And once again, congratulations to the 2 young ladies going off to college. And I do, Virginia, not to say that I'm not proud of you, Victoria, but, like when Brian said, one of the reasons that we do what we do is because of the growth we see in students. And Virginia was an amazing 4th grade student, and I knew she was headed for great things, and watching her excel and do the things she has done just makes me extremely proud. And so I'm really proud of you. You're welcome.
And
thank you.
And yes, we do remember our students. They come up all the time. Do you remember me? On to the item D, state budget updates. Dr. Patricio.
Thank you very much. And thank Jody and Antonio for being at the workshop today. Also, Ken Moncrief and Don Fryer were there. It was a good workshop. Quite an interesting budget year, looking at next year from where we've been. There was a lot of information. There's a lot going on with the budget right now. I have a bunch of slides here. I'm not going to go through all of them in detail. I'm going to give you the key points that came out of the school services workshop this morning. We still have to go through all of the negotiations to get to a month from now when the budget's actually adopted. But you do have access to all of these slides as well if you want to go through it in more depth. And if you have any questions along the way, please stop me as well. So obviously the major theme is that idea of the California roaring back. And you'll see some of the numbers here, and I'm sure you've probably been reading about it and what the state budget looks like. And what you see from the May revise right now is a lot of spending proposals. Some of it's ongoing money, some of it is more categorical in nature or new initiatives from Newsom, and then contributing to reserves as well. So you have both of those pieces. And there's significant investments on all of those accounts that you'll see in this surplus budget. And as I said, that we're at the stage now at the May revise, and then there's a lot of negotiations going to be going on. So changes can occur. They don't really anticipate major changes right now, but we'll see how that goes. There's always a lot of uncertainty leading up into the actual adoption. So we'll obviously be watching that very closely. So, we went from a $54 billion deficit as a state to $100 billion surplus. It's hard to even kind of wrap our heads around that difference. And the fact that although the impact of COVID it was felt by everyone to some degree, it was felt unevenly, very unevenly in terms of just the individual person, the individual family, community. And so when you look at like the idea of a recession, it just didn't, a recession, large scale recession just didn't happen ultimately in California. And so you'll see why here in these slides. And so as we go forward, we're in such a different place than we were, when you look at these numbers than a year ago. And so just some of the pieces of that, the stock market, where the stock market is, and the revenue from this that comes from those earnings to the state and how the California state budget works. That's a huge piece of it right there. That's one major reason why we're looking at a surplus now. And of course, where real estate is right now and where property values are is a really big component. And as you know, the housing market and home values is booming. I mean, so those two pieces alone are big components of it. And then you have personal income tax and increased receipts coming in there as well. So up in these areas. And then capital gains and what comes into the coffers from capital gains, big as well. And then sales tax and use tax and all of these major components have increased. And so you take all of those dollars and they've been flowing in to those coffers and put us in the spot we are now with the surplus budget and corporate tax as well. So those are the main components of why we are where we are now. And I will say that we are looking at a contribution to the rainy day fund. And so making sure that we have the reserves that we need as a state. So you're looking at $16 billion in 21-22 for the rainy day fund. So there is an investment there. What they say as school services, and I would say this is pretty common in terms of what you're hearing right now. What are the risks? Well, first of all, you have the uneven experience with your own personal economy and the economy of your family and your community versus how everyone's fared throughout. And so, but overall, you're looking at, if the stock market changes direction, and inflation could be a major part of that. If we have inflation, and there's concern about that out there, that inflation will occur to a degree that will cause issues with the stock market, and then maybe we'd have a change in direction. But that, that's to be seen. But those risk factors are out there, and there's a lot more that goes into that. What's going to happen a year from now, 2 years from now, but that's the major piece that school services brought up today. So we'll obviously be watching that. And then just looking at the education funding down here, the governor's budget, 82.8 billion, and then the May revised 92.8 billion. And so we have a historic high in per student revenues as a result of all of those, mainly all those factors that I just showed you. And then you've seen this chart before. You can look across to the right and see where the Prop 98 funding is. And as you look to the left, you can see over time. And then you can also look at it in this format here. I would just kind of direct you down to the bottom right. And if you look at the May revise and you look at what they're calling the mega COLA, is a combination of last year's or this current year, and then looking at next year, you're combining those together, and then additional on top of that takes you to 5.07 mega COLA going into next year. So obviously that's it's a significant COLA. It's significant revenue for school districts. We've talked a lot about deferrals, and so what the proposal has, it doesn't affect the deferrals that we're experiencing right now, and we've been already managing that cash, and you've heard about that throughout the year. But what it does is it pays down the large majority of the deferrals next year, but which is great. But they do have 2.6 billion left there for that last payment at the bottom right here. And there's definitely a lot of advocacy out there right now regarding that. And, entities and groups arguing, well, you obviously have the cash. Why are you not eliminating this final deferral? I will just say that what school services said was that, you can just look at all of the new initiatives and categorical type programs that you're going to see me kind of outline generally here in a bit to give you that answer. It's just choices in terms of where you want to spend the money. And so we'll see where that ends up. It may or may not change at all, but we'll see how that goes in the coming weeks. Still good news that so many of the deferrals were eliminated. And this is just note in special education. It's 4.05% COLA there. They talk a lot about, they have in recent years about structural changes to have further increases to how special education funding is allocated. We're not seeing that yet, but again, applying this COLA is going to be helpful. And then we do have PERS and STIRS increases. So that would be that other cost pressure on the district as opposed to increased revenues. And so for PERS, we're going from now, we're at this year 20.7 to 22.91. That is a significant one-year increase for the employer contribution. So we'll be having to deal with that. And then for STIRS, it's going from what we were expecting, 15.92 to 16.92. So that's also a good size increase. So those are two of the pressures that are going to be increased costs that we have to factor in fiscally. And then we do have an increase that's coming next year, which is to unemployment insurance costs. And so there's an increase of increasing the rate to 1.23 in 21-22, which is a significant increase in this area. And so we're going to have to, and everyone's going to have to deal with that increase and what it looks like fiscally for them in school districts. And they're not expecting increases like this to continue in future years. It looks like this one major increase will get the fund to where it needs to be, but we'll have to see how that unfolds. And then just as a reminder, we do have the final step to getting to $15 an hour for minimum wage. So that's just another piece of the puzzle for school districts. And I'm just now going to take you really quickly, hop you kind of through all these different things you're going to hear about if you haven't heard about them already. So this proposal we've talked a lot about the federal funds and the state funds. This is actually a proposal to have additional funds coming through that same vehicle of the ELO and the IPI, expanded learning and the in-person instruction, and to just infuse more dollars into those same vehicles for the same type of things. And so we'll see if that comes, and then we'll be looking at that, gathering input from stakeholders again, as we've been doing, and again, putting that in the picture of everything we've talked about with federal spending, state spending from COVID relief in both regards, and then also our LCAP spending, and the whole picture of how we are responding to all the needs and all the input from our stakeholders to put the money where our kids need it. And so we're going to be watching for that. I believe there'll be plans. It looks like there's going to be plans that go along with those as well. So I may be standing in front of you at a later date discussing those plans. And then there's proposal for more dollars for summer and after school programs. There's not a lot of additional detail there, but we could receive additional dollars to help support those programs. So we'll watch for that. And then this is a big one. The proposal has universal TK for all 4-year-olds by 24-25. And so obviously this is a big one that has a lot of impacts to it. And so we'll see how the kind of debate over that goes. And then if that does end up going through, then we're going to be having to look at all the angles of that and how it impacts your district and how we navigate in through that change.
Classrooms.
Yeah. I mean, space. space and staffing and their immediate questions that come to mind.
That's going to be a very, very large issue that's going to have to take some big discussions about planning and conversations about the structure of that TK program.
Yeah, they're talking about providing some money for facilities, but it's not.
It's a
I
drop.
mean, you can't build all new buildings, and it's not that. It's nowhere near that kind of dollars. I mean, scratching the surface. So, and then there's again that idea of educator investments and getting more people in the profession, increased training, retention, and so this plan puts more dollars into that as well. There's also the desire to have LEAs be able to have more kind of wraparound services in kind of like the community school type model. And so at schools, you could have more integrated health, more mental health services, social services, alongside of in the same kind of buildings that provide all the other services that we have and instruction. So again, not a lot of details on that, but that has been something Newsom's talked about, and that's in the plan right now. So again, like the trailer language and how all these things get negotiated out is obviously what we'd watch for. It's also, the plan talks about increasing funding for school meals. I think this is really about, school services said too, about really making universal meals happen across the whole state of California. We've already had shifted to our universal meals. And so I don't know, we'll see how that really affects us. It could benefit us in some way in terms of how they're subsidized and so forth and reimbursements. We'll just have to see what that looks like. It could affect whether or not we have to re-bench, go back in a couple of years and do the free and reduced applications again or not as that process. We'll just see if they're successful at with this initiative. And then there's others, but local partnerships for supporting foster youth students. This one piqued my interest because it's $7 billion to expand broadband and reliable internet service statewide. That sounds familiar to us because we're looking at trying to leverage, obviously, the ESSER 3 funds with our series CUSD internet project. So what I see with this is it could potentially offset some of the costs for that to us, or it could help with ongoing costs related to really making that happen, because there's endpoint units in homes to make that all work. But I think hopefully they're starting to realize that the only way to really tackle this problem is you have to get good service, which means either it's infrastructure, it's towers, and then it's devices in homes, like you have for cable or whatever else, where you've got the signal hitting a device in a home that's reliable, and that's how you close all these gaps. I just haven't heard any other way to do it. So I feel like we're in the right spot trying to charge into that with others. And I think we're on the right track with that. And then, behavioral health needs, including trauma and depression. So increased funding for those needs as well. And then you've probably heard about this, college savings accounts. So they're talking about having eligible students, which they're saying unduplicated people. So the vast majority of our students, for example, would have a college savings account opened up. And then it would start with seed money of $500. And then for foster and home, receive a supplemental deposit of $500. And then that would be able to grow over time. And so that's one of the ideas. And there's $2 billion in the American Rescue Plan to establish those savings programs. So that'll be interesting to watch and to see how that goes. And then just kind of finishing up here, there's a lot of political factors. I really like this slide because it shows the governor and the governor's main interests, the Senate and the Assembly. And you can see how they have different interests that they're going to be advocating for, or whatever their highest priorities are. And so that'll drive a lot of the negotiations in the weeks to come. And then we also have to acknowledge that a lot of the conversation and a lot of the negotiations that are going to be going on and how this all lands is with the backdrop of the recall election. And so a lot of the politics have to play out there, and there'll be a part of, I think, a lot of the factors going along with negotiations and what agreements are made as we get into June. And then just lastly, and I'll take questions, is, you know, at the end, we've got it's a flush state budget. It's a strong education budget. As I said, we have some new cost pressures that we have to navigate. And then one of the major things that we've got to watch for is in the next couple of years is declining enrollment and any kind of ADA decreases that could happen to school districts. If your kindergarten classes stay low, come in low, and if you don't recover those kids, if you are low, when they come to first grade. At the end of the day, that's going to be a huge topic for our district and for a lot of districts, because that obviously could have a major fiscal impact. Any questions for me on the May revise at all?
I have a few.
Dan,
Yes.
Lourdes has some.
Yes.
And Dr. Siegel. Wanted to ask about the grants for the LEAs for community schools. Are there any criteria already identified for those grants, and where does that put us if we're interested as a district?
I haven't seen any more detail on it. I don't know, Scott, if you've seen any more detail.
The only thing I would say is that they identified a number of local education agencies that would be eligible, and it actually was about 1,400, which is actually very close to the number of LEAs in the state. So I think the intention is to allow every
All of
district.
them. Okay.
That's what it appears.
That's what it sounded like.
That's what it
in
appears
its
to be, but we won't know until after the state budget's passed and we get the start getting the
What's
information
still
on
in.
regulations.
Great. Around universal breakfast, I've been hearing from advocates that 150 million is not enough for statewide. Is there a sense of that and the impact it's going to create on those that have already converted?
I'm sorry. Yeah, that didn't come up today. Then it sounded like the intention was that dollar amount would cover it. But I don't know the scope enough of what that would cost statewide to give you a good answer. But that was the intention, was for it to be very clear to cover breakfast and lunch.
My guess is that if there's a disconnect, it's because in our experience, not every student, let me say differently, your breakfast participation is a lot less than your lunch participation. So they may be running the numbers based on what every student would cost. The governor's office may be running it based on what they anticipate actually using it. That's a guess on my part, but that could explain the difference between.
That was it. Well, let me ask you one more thing. In terms of the unemployment increase, the 1.23%, what's the impact to our district in dollars?
I actually don't know did you know the total cost?
It's just over $1 million.
Over $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah, and they said that that number could change. It could go down. A lot of the issue right now is potentially not having the correct numbers of what the unemployment benefits actually were, and people getting double working, but then also getting unemployment benefits at the same time. It sounds like a significant amount of potential errors are out there. So they said, watch this to see. It's going to be an increase no matter what. I just don't know if there's going to be more news on that.
Is it going to go up and then come back down?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a blip. It's not. It shouldn't be a forever ongoing expense.
Well, where it comes down to is going to stay higher than where it's been for a long time. That's what I think it was 0.05.
It was like nothing.
It was nothing. And so it's going to be really 4 times the amount of what it's been for a while. But then 1.23 is many times higher than what it's going to land at, which they're saying they think 0.20.
A couple of quick comments that I'd like to make. One is this is a fantastic budget overall, so I don't want to seem ungrateful or unappreciative in any way. We're very lucky to have this kind of money coming into education. I am disappointed in a couple of aspects. One is that the deferrals, to me, that should be the very first call on money after the COLAs are provided, because we're not always going to see good times. A year ago, we were in a position where we thought we were going to have like a negative 8% COLA, and we would have been desperate for every deferral we could get. They need to pay it off so that it's reloaded and ready to go the next time there's a problem. And that is a very important thing. And also, those deferrals much more adversely impact school districts with low property values than school districts with high property values. Because the property tax portion of our funding is not impacted at all. And there are districts that receive no state aid, basically, they just get their property taxes. They're not impacted at all. They don't have to worry about borrowing money or cash flow or anything like that. Where a district like Sirius with very low property values and high student counts does have that order, and it gets hit at disproportionately by those types of things. So it's not very equitable. I am concerned the number of categorical programs, and these are categorical programs, old-fashioned 1990s, early 2000s, pre-Governor Brown, pre-LCFF type of categorical programs. A return to that type of budgeting from the state is problematic in my mind. It's where we lost local control. The legislature decided what programs we would do by funding programs. And I just hate seeing that. So those are just my thoughts for whatever they're worth. But it's gonna be a great year next year.
Anyone else, comments, questions? Okay, if not, we'll continue with item E, revision of administrative regulation 5121. Dr. Peterman.
Right. So I have for you an information and study item tonight. And as you know, we have been working this year on our grading policy and practices as a district. So I have for you a proposed revision to Administrative Regulation 5121, which pertains to grades and evaluation of student achievement. So it is here tonight for a first reading and will be brought back to you at the June 10th board meeting for approval, hopefully. And just a reminder that the revisions in this policy aim to create more equitable and clear grading policies and practices. And in addition to the document, I wanted to share a little bit of information with you about some of those changes. So you have the actual proposed policy in front of you, but you will see when you read it that there are two options that teachers have in terms of selecting a scale to use to report grades. Option one is here on the screen. In this option, there are actually two different grading scales that they look slightly different. They result in pretty much the same thing. So you can see the second column is the 50 to 100 scale. So if you look over here, you can see that 50 is the floor of this scale. That is the part of the policy that really allows for recovery for students who fall behind or don't do well maybe earlier in the term. And so the 50% being the floor is the first option. The second option within option one is the 0 to 4 scale. And so you can see what those convert to there. Those are easy to implement. They are in the distance learning policy that has been in place this year for our district. And so, yes.
Going on before you advance slides, let's say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. So the one on the right is a 4-point scale. I'm going to tell you that the one, in case there's any confusion, I think we talked about this before. The one on the left is actually a 5-point scale, going from 0 to 50 by tens. And then they just moved it up 100, moved it up 50 points to make it correspond to what everybody's used to. So, you know, some people are saying like, oh gosh, kids get 50 points for doing nothing. No, it's you can make that 0 just as easily and say 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 is the scale.
So we have these two options really clearly delineated because they, some teachers prefer one over the other, and we really wanted to build a lot of flexibility into this policy, especially at first as teachers start getting used to this change, as students and families start getting used to this change. So these are two that many teachers have been using this year. What's in option 2 is actually more of a description that some teachers who may not want to use either of the two options on the previous slide might create something that looks more like a standards-based way of reporting out grades. And so there's a variety of things that teachers might do to create a scale such as that. But really the important part is that in terms of equitable grading, that a scale that's used meets this criteria. So you can see there's 4 bullets there, but the italicized phrases in each of those bullets is really at the heart of what an effective equitable grading policy would do. So the first bullet focuses on truly measuring learning. The second bullet is about providing clarity so that teachers, families, and students are really clear about what the grade represents. The third bullet is allowing for recovery so students don't fall behind and feel like there's no hope in terms of recovering. And the final is about equitable opportunity and not having certain things impact the grade that are outside of a student's control. So again, option 1 has very clearly delineated scales. Option 2 is really more about somebody who would want to use something different, but with some success criteria that would be approved by the site administrator. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a second. So wanted to share a couple of things, just mostly pertaining to elementary school. The current grading policy that is in place states that students in grades 4 through 12 receive letter grades. Although our practice in this district for quite some time has been that we start using letter grades in 3rd grade. So I'm not sure where the disconnect came from, but in researching this, I did come across that. The recommendation, and it's articulated this way in the proposed policy, is that next year we do not go back to using letter grades for 3rd grade, that we actually discontinue the use of those grades in 3rd grade, and that we align 3rd grade with the K through 2nd standards-based way of reporting grades. So that's the first piece. The second piece pertains to grades 4 through 6. In doing this work this year, we've had a lot of feedback from our elementary teachers that they actually prefer the standards-based way of reporting at elementary rather than reporting in a letter grade for various reasons. And in doing some research of surrounding districts, we're actually very different than most of the other districts in the area. Modesto, Turlock, Patterson, and Riverbank all use standards-based reporting at elementary and have for quite some time. So what we would like to do is consider this option moving forward. And there's language in the proposal that upon approval from the superintendent, a school site may pilot the use of standards-based reporting for grades 4 through 6 in lieu of letter grades. And our recommendation would be that school sites can ask to request this type of pilot, similar to how K2 reports, and that approval would be provided by the superintendent or designee. We didn't want to set our community up to have within the same school site, some teachers do this and some grade levels do that. But we think that there might be 1 or 2 sites out there that are ready to try this type of reporting because it's in line with some of the things that they've done this year during distance learning. And it appears to be working for some of them.
Is the idea then for 4th through 6th grade? So 3rd grade, we would not do it next year. We'd go to standards based. 4th through 6th grade could pilot at a whole school site if that was the desire of the school site, the superintendent or designee approved it. But then starting in 22-23, I think the intention is to start talking about phasing out 1 year at a time until we get to where every grade level in elementary is standards based.
Yeah, that's something we would definitely like to discuss, but we want to have teachers at the table before
Not
we
part of
make
the
those.
recommendation tonight.
What's that?
That's not part of the recommendation.
That is
tonight.
not part of the recommendation.
This
but
is information study.
This is this is information study. And when I say recommendation, those 2 pieces here on this screen are reflected in the policy that's being presented for you. But what Dr. Siegel is describing could be what the long-term work looks like to phase out letter grades in K6.
So if we do a couple of pilots and it goes great, it's possible staff can come back a year from now and say, hey, we think 4th grade next year goes away from that. Or not, depends on what the pilots show.
Right. And even if we don't have a pilot school, because we'd want to be really careful about selecting that and making sure that it's the right thing for that school community, we could still have some of those conversations next year about what the following year would look like in terms of possibly phasing out letter grades for those grade levels. So that's a little thing, little information about elementary and how that's reflected in the policy. I do want to just mention a couple other quick things. When you look at option 2, that was on, well, sorry, let me go back to this. You can see there the language is a grading scale policy approved by site administration. So we are working on a procedure that would be a common procedure that all site administrators would use to approve any scales or policies that fall under option 2, so that we have a consistent process across the district to avoid any challenges and having something denied at one school and approved at another. So we are working on that. And then I also wanted to share, I think I told you at the last presentation that we offered the Grading for Equity course, which is the online grading course that we've based a lot of our work around. We have more than 160 teachers who've signed up to take that this summer. So we're really excited about that. Jody's on the call right now, and I think she's already started the course. She and I had a conversation about a couple of things in that yesterday, and I think it's going to be a really good thing to help everybody really understand why we're having these conversations and the positive impact that it can have on our students. So, and I want to echo what everybody else has said today about Victoria and Virginia. In addition to all the other things that they've been helpful with, the grading conversation we've had with them as well, and their contributions have been incredibly helpful, and they've helped stimulate a lot of the student perspective, which is definitely part of what we need to consider here.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, Ellie?
Well, if it's changing for elementary, then how will that affect junior high and high school? Are there changes coming for them as well as far as grading policies?
We don't know. I think it's safe to say high school, unless something really drastic changes in our country. I don't know that letter grades are going anywhere. I think it's a conversation we can have at junior high, and we'll have to weigh the pros and cons of standards-based versus letter grades, or, there is a way that you can base your letter grades on standards based conversations and, doing all the things that are in that option 2. So I don't think letter grades necessarily prohibit us from having effective grading practices, but I think it's, we want to hear the conversation with our teachers and see where that takes us.
Going to standards-based reporting, though, is an elementary conversation at this point. It is not something we've talked about at junior.
Well, we've talked about it, but we haven't talked about getting rid of letter grades.
Right.
Well, I just wondered
I
how that
apologize,
would
right, the
flow
letter grades
into.
would not go away, right? Standards-based grading and letter grades are not, as she said, contradictory with each other.
Right.
But we're not talking about removing letter grades.
I just wondered how that would flow into junior high. How that would.
We would have to educate students at junior high about grades and what they mean, and what how a letter grade corresponds to a standard or meaning a standard.
Yeah, there's really not, there's not a lot that specifically is impacted in terms of grades at one level versus the other. I think it's really more about what the reflection of the learning is, and the more we can improve that at every grade level, the better the transition will be for all of our students. And part of the work really is helping everybody understand, what does that letter grade mean, or what does that standards-based report mean? Because even though we have A, B, C, D, F, I can tell you, these girls can probably tell you here, what an A is in this class has nothing to do with what an A is in this class. Yeah. And that's really the heart of the challenge.
Dr. Peterman, are there any schools that have already piloted this, or school districts?
Well, all of the districts I named earlier are all doing standards-based reporting K-6. So we are alone
in the junior high
in this area. I don't know of any. I think
it's customary now to do letter grades in secondary schools.
It's not unheard of. I don't think it's that common in this area, but to be honest, I'm not sure. I don't have the answer to that. I have the answer to elementary, but I'm not sure.
And I think it's worth restating, letter grades and standards-based reporting are not exclusive.
And the recommendations you presented have been vetted by your stakeholder groups?
Yes, they've been part of the conversation. Yeah, in fact, I just sent a very detailed email yesterday letting them know exactly what policy resulted in all of the conversations that we've been having this year. So I won't get up here and say that there's 100% support for everything. It's a difficult topic. It's a difficult conversation. It's changing things that have been so for a long time. But we've had a lot of people at the table, and we're doing a lot of meetings and collecting feedback and input and trying to take all that into consideration.
Thank you, Dr. Peterman.
Hey, thank you.
Item F, revision of board policy 1312.3 and administrative regulations 1312.4. Jay.
Yes, back a while back, we had a federal program monitoring, and through that process, they found a couple findings, some wording concerns that they had regarding our uniform complaint process. This addresses it. There's actually, I gave you 2 examples of the notice that will go in preschool rooms and then the new parental notice. And this is just the updates to help satisfy those concerns.
Any questions or comments from the board members about this item? Okay, thank you, Jay. On to item G, status of the equity resolution and student equity meeting. Dr. Sigo.
So as you know, if you've seen my presentations before, I have no colorful graphics or anything else. It's just text. It's extremely exciting. So I'm here to report tonight about the equity resolution was passed last summer, where we are with the different pieces of that. And also specifically, one of the pieces I'm supposed to report on by the end of this year is how the student meetings went. I have 2 of the participants in the student meetings here who will hold me accountable to not making this up. So, and ladies, feel free to interject or add on. If you want to go ahead and advance the slide. Oh, I guess I can advance the slide. Let's see if I got it. Oh, you got it. Good. All right. So there was resolution 02-2021, which was the purpose was to address diversity, equity, and racism in the Sears Unified School District. It was adopted on August 20th of 2020, and it set forth a number of deliverables for staff to present to the board. So here's a list in a chart of the to-dos that came off of that. The first one is an anti-bias and cultural responsiveness policy for staff, or policy and staff training. The deadline for that was December 31st. We presented it on December 10th. The policy was actually approved on, deadline was for us to present the information by December 31st. We met that. And the policy was approved on January 7th, and implementation is scheduled for July 1st. There will be training for all staff members on anti-bias and cultural responsiveness. The next one is equity training that Dr. Peterman reported to you at the last board meeting on how that's going. That's been an ongoing thing. We actually commenced that in the 1920 school year. We're halfway through our school sites at this point. They're just about wrapping up the 2nd cohort, and the 3rd and 4th cohorts will be in the next 2 years. That will, at that point, all 20 schools will have been through it. The idea is that work does not stop once they go through the training. There's 2nd year work and 3rd year work and 50th year work to be done, and they will continue to do that. There was a hiring practices review that Dr. Wickham presented to you on November 12th, and she's continuing the ongoing is the implementation of what she was talking about in that presentation. Exclusionary discipline, Mr. Beltran presented that to you on January 7th, and again, the implementation of that, some of these things, they're never going to end. They have to be ongoing, and so just the purpose of this portion of this presentation is for you just to review what we were doing. The student meetings is the next one that you have not had yet. You're having it, about to have it right now. And that deadline was June 30th. We also have the ethnic studies deadline on September 30th. I can give you an update on that. Mr. Rudeshauser, I believe, will probably present on that, or Dr. Peterman and Mr. Rudeshauser early next fall in August or September. It does not appear at this point because the state seems to be unwilling or unable to make its mind up of what direction it wants to go with this. We're not at the point yet right now where we're ready to recommend a graduation requirement. I've talked to the committee, I've talked to some students. The problem was that the graduation requirements. And adding another graduation requirement is going to really severely hamper some students. So we have the courses, students take the courses. Our goal right now is to do two things. One is to increase the enrollment in those courses, those electives, and that's voluntary enrollment. And the other is to look at some of the aspects that are taught in an ethnic studies class and weave them into the current world history, US history, civics classes, and as well as the English language arts classes in high school. So that's the direction we're starting to head. And I believe I've pretty much stolen Mr. Rooshauser's thunder, but I'll let him come back to you in late summer and early fall and give you a presentation on where we are at the current time. The state keeps talking about adopting a graduation requirement that would be in effect by the end of this decade, but talk is cheap and they seem to be unwilling to do it. We'll see. So questions with those different pieces?
No, but not a question, but I would like to make a comment. In the previous slide, you had the anti-bias and cultural responsiveness policy and staff training. I would like to say that I know a lot of my peers and Virginia as well, we are very appreciative that students had a word in this, and like you and Mr. Simmons came to the students and asked us what we believed teachers should be like trained on, what we feel as students should be implemented in our classrooms. And I know Mr. Simmons asked Virginia and I to do a project for this specific training. And I know getting student perspective, I think will change and will have a great effect, hopefully, on the teachers in this training. So we appreciate your efforts to involve the students.
Sure. Actually, the appreciation is all ours, and really we need to do that. You'll see a theme here kind of emerging about student voice and students being involved in policy making. And I think it's something that we've started this year, probably because of the resolution. Is also the generation of students we're dealing with right now is a different generation than the millennial students we've had for decades, several decades. They are much more active and wanting a voice. And so the more we can give them that, the better, I think the better things are. They'll be happier, we'll be happier, and everyone will be happier.
Dr. Siegel, are we planning to have this, especially for ongoing, as a regular presentation to the board, maybe annually, or?
That's certainly something that I can pass on, Dr. Wickham, that you want to have these topics brought back up. I hadn't really envisioned anything past what was in the resolution, and that we are planning, by the way, since most of these things are ongoing, the student meetings are, in addition to that, they will be ongoing. It certainly would lend itself to an annual report if the board wants that.
I would be interested, and also looking at impact and calibrating, as Victoria is talking about. I really feel it's important that we not only involve students and stakeholders in the process, but also looking at what they're speaking about and if there's need for any modifications or
absolutely
new adoptions.
Or different policies. They come out. There's things that we didn't anticipate, and we get into those, that the students brought up that led to either formal policy changes or informal, or I'll call them practice changes. And so I'll get into a couple of those. So there were a number of meetings that we had. Now we had some attendance issues. At first we had really pretty good attendance participation, and I think we had Zoom fatigue. And students just didn't want to be on any more Zoom meetings. So I'm looking forward to next year. I'm not actually looking forward to next year, but I'm looking forward to hearing about next year when they can meet, Dr. Wickham and the staff can meet with the students in person while they're in school, and we have a captive audience and the attendance will be really good. Because they'll be forced to attend, right?
Yes.
We'll pull them out of class. So I have here is a chart with the different meetings and just a summary, and it's hard to capture an hour's conversation in a paragraph. So there's lots missing, but I try to get the big high points. So the first meeting, and you can see the dates that those occurred, we asked the students about their experiences on our camp, in our district and out in society, and they gave us lots of responses. The second part was what the district should do about it. There were a number of different things. They talked about increasing author diversity, about broadening the teaching of history, education to students early, ethnic studies, increasing staff diversity, and addressing staff training. So some of those things are happening or being addressed, and some of those things are on our to-do list, or we brought up more informally. The second meeting, I asked them, do you have any questions for me? And a really big thing that came out and has saved us no end of grief in some ways, because a parallel situation is happening with the same comments being made in the district near us about that the dress code is biased towards girls and females. It objectifies us. We're not a distraction. Those are the kind of comments that there's body image issues the dress code is pushing on kids. And I had never heard students, usually when students complain in the past, it was like, I just want to be able to wear it. I just want to be able to wear it. They wouldn't give us a really good reason. This is the first time I heard students actually articulate some compelling reasons why our dress code was a problem. And so that started the ball rolling on that. We also had questions about the SROs. There were some mixed feelings, ambivalent feelings about the SROs, but there's nothing really super strong one way or the other. So that's a topic that probably needs to be continued to be revisited. I wanted to have the SROs talk to this student equity group, but I think what'll be best if that can those conversations happen in person. And I think that would, continuing that, developing the image of the police officers as a person that you can go to if there's a problem, something you want to go to if there's a problem, it is important, and there's work still to do there.
Especially, I know we had a joint meeting with our city leaders and police leaders as well, and expressing the need for us to focus on relationship building. And I still feel strongly about that.
And everybody, both the city council and the school board are on the same page with that. The police leadership is on the same page. The SROs are on the same page. Students, I believe, are on that page. Everyone's on that page. We just need to make sure that that's what's happening. And like I said, I think it is happening. I still think there's more work to do. So then meeting 3, we talked about COVID and planning for reopening, because we were under the delusion that we were going to reopen at the beginning of the second semester at that point. That ended up not happening, obviously, on that timeline. We got input on the grading policy and input on the dress code policy. And actually at that point, we brought it to the board, the idea that we actually had the students actually get together with Mr. Simmons, and they actually wrote essentially the policy. Basically decided what was going to be in there, what was not. What was amazing was they wrote a policy that was pretty tight in terms of it had the things we needed to have in there. There was no argument about we can't be advertising drugs and alcohol on our t-shirts and things like that. But it scaled back all of the measurements and that sort of thing. And it has a different standard, which is basically, it needs to be common decency, but we need to also recognize that times are not the same as when we were in school. And what's acceptable to wear to school today is not the same as when I was in school in the 1970s, 1980s. It's just not. By the way, our principals were wholly on board with the idea that the dress code was just the time and energy enforcing it and taking kids out of class was just not worth it. So I think we were having a little bit of a not rough, but we've had some hiccups in terms of people, because we adopted in the middle of COVID, we didn't have a clean rollout this spring, but I think we're getting there. Have you seen, has it been better lately in terms of? Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
The message got out there. We just, normally we would have adopted it. There'd been a whole big, like, hey, enforce this, stop enforcing the old one, enforce this one. And we missed that because nobody was in school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who would have thought, right? So meeting 4, we had a request that was kind of like really awkward for us. Meeting wasn't as awkward for the students to do a presentation on the district's sex education programs. We stuck that with Mr. Rudishauser because we thought better him than me, or I thought better him than me. We also discussed distance learning and reopening plans. The students were generally positive about the schedule for high school implemented after the break. There's some concerns about the workload actually going up unintentionally, but for the most part, they like the longer periods and higher contact levels. And then meeting 5 was the LCAP meeting. And one issue that came up at that meeting was that we just are oblivious about, and it was great to hear, it was actually not great to hear, but it was great to be able to do something about it, was that now most of our parents for high school students and possibly junior high school students as well are not relaying to the students the contents of the parent squares that they're getting. So we're here assuming that we send something out to the parent and the student knows about it. The student's like, wait a second. No, our parents may know, but they don't talk to us. We don't talk to them, right? We're teenagers. We just don't do that. So that led us to start to communicate directly through Parent Square to the students when we communicate to parents. And you should have noticed a difference with that.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Again, these came from the students. It's not something that we initiated, that was initiated by students. And then finally, our last meeting, we had, and I forgot, it looks like I forgot to put down the attendance on that one. Yeah, I did, sorry. The topics, it was not hugely attended. Included a COVID reopening update, an update from Ed Services on the ethics studies, and the new grading policy, and then Dr. Wickham introduced herself and took questions. So that's where we were. The plan is to resume these meetings next year, preferably in person. That should definitely be possible to do. It should increase attendance, and particularly increase attendance for the alternative education site, which had very, very poor attendance on Zoom. These groups essentially are forming a new stakeholder group for the superintendent to meet with. And then a couple of just quick takeaways. There was a big amplification of student voice as a result of having these meetings. The students played a major role in the redesign of the dress code. Their policy recommendations in that case were balanced and reasonable. They provided input and had an impact on other policy level decisions around grading and staff anti-bias training. So there was other places that on a policy level that student input had an impact. They identified gap in our communication, which I just talked about. There's this ongoing need we see for student voice in curriculum, particularly in the areas of social studies, English language arts, ethnic studies, and sex education. Students want that voice. They want to help determine where the curriculum is and what they're taught. I think that they should have that voice. Doesn't mean they get to make the decision. Ultimately, the board makes those decisions, but they certainly should have voice. And then students are tuned to issues around bias, racism, gender equity, sexual orientation equity, and gender identity equity. Much more attuned, of course, than I was when I was in high school, like when I was unattuned to those issues. And I think it's important that they give us, there's more work to be done there. And there's more years in front of us to do it. So I think it's a win-win, and I am excited for Dr. Wickham and for the next year's students to engage in that way.
I certainly hope that this also opens the level of comfort students feel in really raising issues, and that they do report cases of discrimination, issues at school sites.
Absolutely.
And that we as a board really do want to support students bringing their voice through student representatives and through students at sites. Please go to your sites, administrators, and report.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the things that came out, is that stuff's not reported enough. And sometimes staff turns a blind eye to it, and that needs to change as well.
It was a pleasure and honor to be a part of this group. I can't express my appreciation enough to you guys for like really taking into consideration what we said and the input that we provided. And it was amazing to see that some of the things that were brought up in like the 1 hour meeting that we had were actually used to make positive changes in the district. So thank you so much for that.
Again, thank you. I mean, it really was important to have. It also paid off for the district, because there's a dress code brouhaha going on to the south of us.
Big one.
With the exact same issues brought up that you all brought up. And you allowed us to get ahead of it before we had a problem this spring.
I was very shocked by the fact that we would bring up an issue, and like within the next month, like administrators were like contacting us to make changes, which I truly appreciate, because I know I didn't really think it would take that short amount of time. I was like, oh, maybe next year for next school year. But like the dress code, it was like, okay, you guys want to change it, let's change it and then apply it. And I think that was just amazing, because students now realize that their voice is truly heard and change is being made. And so for future years, I think students will feel more comfortable speaking out and making these recommendations, seeing that they are being taken into account.
Yes, and we won't always be able to do what students want, because sometimes students will want things that, they're teenagers, right? But there's a lot of time where there's a lot of sense, and that was what was really most impressive, is that the way you all addressed issues came from a really good place and a sensible place. So I think it's important next year that the 2 new student board reps, who I can't remember their names, but they have been appointed. So I'm looking forward to hearing about them getting on, and that they would be part of those groups, because that gives a link directly to the board at the dais for what's happening in those meetings. Any other questions?
I have just a quick question. Has there been any discussion about moving down to the junior high level, or is it basically going to stay at the high school or
At
something?
for the time being, we've talked about leaving at the high school level just because high school students have had the experiences of junior high and elementary age students, and so they kind of
So they
represent.
have the, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Thank
they
you.
talk about, one of the great things was they were able to talk about their elementary experiences. I don't remember my elementary experiences anymore. I mean, it's been so long, but I think for them, it hasn't been as that necessarily that long. So they are able to pull from those and tell us about them.
All right, anything else? All right.
All right, thank you.
Dr. Siegel. We'll go on to item H, COVID-19 update. Again, Dr. Siegel.
Yeah, I'll do that from here. So I do want to acknowledge that we had 16 parent comments, public comments from peer-reviewed parents. Many of them identified themselves as Whitmore charter parents. I was sure that if they're listening or any public that's there, that the board has received all of those comments and has had an opportunity to read those comments. I have read them. They are dealing with masks. 14 of the 16 were advocating for students not to have to wear masks. 2 were advocating that the district hold its course on that, and that until public health tells us not to, students continue to wear masks. So I have to say, and I'll give you some really compelling reasons why over the next few minutes as we talk about COVID, but the school district does not get to make that decision. That decision is made by the California Department of Public Health in conjunction with the local Department of Health. It's made by Cal OSHA. We have employees, we are a workplace, and we are subject to enormous fines from Cal OSHA if we are not enforcing the masking policy, because that provides unsafe working conditions for our employees. So we are charged with maintaining safe and secure learning environments for our students, safe and secure employment for our staff. We do not want kids going home and spreading the virus. We know now, I'm going to give you an example, that failure to wear masks in schools leads to spread. We have documented cases of that. And
documented cases within our own
within
district.
our own district. I'll describe it in a few minutes here. And the district is not going to be having kids come to school unmasked, as long as they can be masked, to have them get sick and take disease home. I understand that children tend not to get severe forms of the disease, but they can take it home to their relatives and kill their relatives. And we have people in this district, both staff and students, who have lost loved ones, a lot of them. And I am not going to be part of trying to placate people and say, yeah, sure, don't wear masks. We will wear masks in this district until such time as the public health departments tell us it is no longer needed. And that is the way it's going to be. So I'm sorry to be firm about that, but that is the way it's going to be. The incident I'm talking about, I had notes before I even started getting these comments to talk about this. So I'm not bringing this up because of these comments. I'm bringing it up because it's something that occurred over the last 2 weeks. We had an outbreak at one of our schools. I'm not going to mention the school right now, and I'm not going to give you the details I need to give you without giving you too many to protect confidentiality. We had a little over a dozen cases in one school in a short period of time. We were unable to understand why. Public health was unable to understand why and what was going on. As we investigated and public health investigated, we looked at contact tracing and where the kids were. One classroom came up. I will divulge it was a secondary school where students move around. One classroom came up over and over and over again. And for all but one of the students involved, there was a direct relationship to that classroom. Not like, I know a kid who went to that classroom. I was either in that classroom or in one case as the sibling of somebody who was in that classroom. So about a dozen cases of actual, not exposure, of COVID positive students in a classroom. So we're wondering what's going on here, because these kids are going all over campus. They have 6 or 7 periods a day, and we don't have we're not seeing spread outside of that. The spread is clearly contained to one classroom. Well, upon investigating, we found out that the teacher was not enforcing the mask policy. Students were in the classroom unmasked for periods of time. Now that tells us a couple of things. 1, COVID is out there and still spreading in our community. 2, our masking policies, our social distancing policies, our practices that we're doing work. Because our other schools and other classrooms on that campus, it's not spreading. We have very crowded classrooms relative to what other school districts are having right now because of the limit, or we don't limit it, but how seldom our students are asking to go on distance learning. Many of our secondary classrooms have 30 or more kids in a classroom at a time. And so kids are in close proximity, but they're masked, and the masking is working, and it's preventing the spread. The problem with what happened at May Hensley is that it's not just the 12 or dozen or a little over a dozen students who had COVID who get to go home and miss education. It's other students who are in proximity to them. So the last I heard, we have like 150 students who are not getting their education every day right now because they had quarantine, because our masking policy was not being enforced. Our masking policy will be enforced until public health tells us that we no longer have to. It's not our decision, it's actually public health's decision, but I support that decision, and will continue as long as I'm superintendent to enforce that decision. And that is the end of it, as far as I'm concerned. On June 15th, the governor is planning to, if everything goes well with vaccinations, eliminate the color tiering system. That does not mean the end of all of the policies and procedures. We responsive again to the Department of California Department of Public Health and Cal OSHA to determine what we do and what we don't do. So we're waiting for guidance from them. When that guidance changes, we will change what we do. We also have to be aware that we are in one of the higher concentrations of COVID cases county in the state. We've improved. We're no longer in the top 1, 2, or 3, which we used to occupy on a regular basis. We're now in the top quartile, I'd say, or top 5th of counties in the state, which is an improvement. And the numbers have come down. They're now regularly below 10 cases per 100,000 on a rolling average. They're around 8, which is great. And we continue to see the decreases. That's a fantastic thing. But we do have to be aware that we are in a higher concentration county than most of the state is. The state of California, by the way, leads the nation right now in suppressing this virus, which is a great place to be. The closer we can get it to 0, the quicker we'll be having to stop wearing these things. And I know nobody loves wearing these. I haven't talked to anybody who just loves this, but it's what we have to do to get these cases down. This country has lost 600,000 people to COVID, and that should be enough. Everybody from here on in, given that we have vaccines and we know what to do if we wear masks, it's unnecessary. We need to stop unnecessary death. At the last board meeting in June, the plan is to revert back to in-person. We'll revisit that decision as the month goes on, because of June 15th, we're happy to see what the governor says. I'm not guaranteeing that's going to happen. So our next board meeting will continue like we are right now, and then we will see where we are, because that one's after June 15th.
The board has been kept weekly reports from the administration as to where our classrooms are quarantined, people that are quarantined, whether it's students, which employee, not by name, but by position. And we have been monitoring that. And that's just one of the things that we do. We're educators. We're not physicians to make the health decisions. We're doing our job and doing it well for the safety of all of our families and the whole community. Any other comments by board members or questions? All right, the last item on information and study is research.
Just about the testing in the spring.
Okay, pardon?
It was just about the research articles, just about the testing.
Right. Okay, we will adjourn to closed session. We're back in open session. Was there anything to report out of closed session?
There is nothing to report out of closed session.
This meeting is adjourned.